Does awareness, does that, the fact of being aware, does that have an age? We hear the question, pause.
Welcome to the Sedona Method and the Greatest Secret, where we explore the end of your suffering and the beginning of lasting happiness. I'm Hale, and today we'll be meeting Rupert Spira, who is a featured teacher along with me in Rhonda Byrne's The Greatest Secret. Rupert Spira is a teacher of Advaita Vedanta, the direct path to recognition of the one truth that all is. He helps people explore the perennial, non-dual understanding that lies at the heart of all great religious and spiritual traditions, the nature of awareness. How would you express the nature of awareness?
Ever-present, unlimited, inherently peaceful, and unconditionally fulfilled.
Very direct. And how would we go about recognizing this for ourselves? A lot of us have heard this before, maybe even experienced moments of this. But one is, again, since we already are that, we can't grow into that, but we get distracted. So what is one of your favorite ways of pointing people to this so that they can really recognize it for themselves?
Well, we find out the nature of awareness in exactly the same way that we find out about anything else. That is by exploring it, giving our attention to it. So it is everybody's most intimate and familiar experience that they are aware. The fact of being aware is the most intimate, most simple, most ordinary experience there is. It is sometimes not the most obvious experience, at least to begin with it may not be obvious. Why? Because most of us, most of the time, are accustomed to giving our attention to the content of experience. Thoughts, images, feelings, sensations, perceptions, activities, relationships. And there is rarely enough gap in between the objects of experience for us to become aware of the simple fact that we are aware. We are so busy giving our attention to what we are aware of that we tend to overlook or ignore the simple fact of being aware. So the first step is to relax the focus of our attention from the content of experience, the drama of experience, our thoughts, feelings, relationships, etc., and allow attention just to come back to ourself, to our being. What is the nature of that which is aware? Not what is the nature of what I am aware of. If I were to ask you now, tell me about your thoughts, tell me about the sensations of your body, tell me about the objects in your room. In each of these cases, you would describe some kind of objective content.
Yes.
If I were to ask you now, but what is it that is aware of all of these? There would be some pause, and your attention would let go of the objects of experience, and it would come back in a directionless direction. I say a directionless direction because that in us which is aware does not itself have any objective qualities, so we cannot really go towards it. We can only relax back into it. We can only sink back into our being. So that would be just a simple way that is well within everybody's grasp. What is the nature of that which is aware of my experience? Now, everything that we are aware of has some kind of form, a thought, a feeling, a sensation. And having a form, it is limited. But that which is aware of the limited objects of experience itself has no limits. Our thoughts and feelings may be agitated, but that which is aware of them does not share their agitation. It is perfectly at peace. Yes. A feeling may arise in which we feel a sense of lack. Something is missing. I am lonely. But that with which we are aware of the feeling and within which the feeling arises is itself perfectly free of the sense of lack. And the common name, as you well know, for the absence of the sense of lack is happiness. In other words, yes. It is easy to recognize that our essential nature, that which is aware of the content of our experience, its nature is peace and happiness. It does not need to be made such through practice or effort or discipline. It just needs to be recognized as such.
Yes, it's simple. It's always simpler than it seems.
Well, they have a wonderful phrase in the tantric tradition of Kashmir Shaivism. Our true nature of inherently peaceful, unconditionally fulfilled awareness is more hidden than the most concealed of things, and yet more obvious than the most evident of things. So for some it is concealed until it's obvious, and when it's obvious, it's like the space in a room. If we were to ask most people now, describe your experience of the room that you're sitting in, we would look around and we describe the pots and the paintings and the books and the chairs and the table and the glass and the heat. But how many of us would mention the space? We wouldn't mention the space, but why not? Are we not experiencing the space? Of course. Space is 99% of the room, but because we can't see it or taste it or touch it or hear it or feel it, we overlook it. Well, awareness is like that. It is even more obvious than the space.
Yes.
It is even closer to us than the space. And yet, and then when somebody points it out, we say, oh, yes, of course, how could I possibly have overlooked the simple fact that I am aware? But until it either dawns on us spontaneously or until a friend points it out to us, we tend to overlook it in just the same way that we overlook the screen behind the movie or the space of the room.
Yes, again, we because it's natural, it gets ignored. In my experience, and also with talking about this with people, you have to keep bringing people back to the most simple, where the mind tends to overcomplicate things.
Yes, I think you're right. It's because it's natural that it's ignored, but also because it is so intimate and so familiar.
Yes, exactly.
It is sometimes people think that awareness is mysterious, for instance. That there is awareness is the least mysterious element of experience.
That's true.
In fact, it is the only element of experience that is absolutely rock solid, dependable, reliable. It never changes. It never goes away. It is never harmed. It is never unavailable. I mean, it is the opposite. I mean, the world, by comparison, is mysterious. The world as we normally conceive it.
Yes.
nobody has ever actually found. The scientists have been looking for the world as it is normally conceived for 2,500 years. They still haven't found it. Every time they look, it vanishes. It breaks up into something even less tangible. Well, all we find of the world are a series of perceptions appearing in awareness. So it is. We normally think that the world is rock solid, concrete, experienceable, reliable, and that awareness is mysterious, hard to find, effervescent. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
It's the opposite. Awareness is the one element of experience that is absolutely rock solid and dependable. It is always there, always present, just so to speak, just behind the mind, just behind the activities of thinking, feeling, perceiving, etc.
Yes, beautifully put. Beautifully put. Yeah, one of the things I say to people is, what is the same? Most people are always looking at what's different, but they rarely look at what is the same each moment, because it's the same when we're suffering, well, we're not really suffering, but when there is turmoil and when there's peace.
That's very true. That's very true. And also most people, I think everyone would agree that they feel that they have always been the same person.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to say to someone, do you feel that you are the same person now as you were 2 minutes ago, or 2 hours ago, or 2 days ago? They would say, yes, it's me. I am me. I'm always the same me. And then, well, what about 2 years ago? Or what about 20 years ago? Are you not the same person that you were when you were a 2-year-old child? And we all feel, yes, I've always been the same person. Well, from what in our experience do we derive the conviction that we are always the same person? I mean, after all, our thoughts are not always the same. Our feelings, our sensations, our perceptions, our activities, and our relationships, none of these are always the same. They are constantly changing, and yet we have this absolute conviction, I am always the same person. So what does that come from? It must come from that in us which is always the same. In other words, it is an intuition of the constancy of our being. But because we overlook the constancy, the ever-presence of our being, we project continuity onto the person. And we think I, the body, is always the same, or I, the body-mind, is always the same. No, it is I, awareness, that I'm always the same. Everything else changes.
Yes, well put. Well put. So how else do you direct people to that which is natural?
I don't have...
I'm not looking for a technique. I'm looking... Yes. What I've noticed listening to you is that you take whatever people are presenting.
Exactly.
And then you just have a conversation with them.
Exactly. I try to, if somebody asks a question or brings a problem, I try to the best of my ability, I go to where they are. I try to find them wherever they are in their experience. The analogy I sometimes use is there's a big forest. And I'm not just on the edge of the forest, but I hear a voice in the forest, and I can hear it's a distressed voice. Somebody is lost in the forest. So I have to listen. Where are they? Where are they lost? The forest is enormous. They could be anywhere. The forest of experience is huge. So where are they? Now, it's no good me just calling to them and say, look, I'm on the outside. It's beautiful here. There's a cafe down the road and we're all safe here. No, they don't. They're lost. They can't find their way. It's my job to go into the forest, to find them where they are, and then to find the way out. Now, there are as many ways out as there are places where it is possible to be lost in the forest.
Yes.
They all go to the same place, that is out of the forest, which in this analogy is the innate peace of our true nature. But I don't feel that it's satisfactory to meet every question with the same answer. Who is experiencing this? Or I, to the best of my ability, I tailor this understanding to the question. Now,
Yes.
of course, I, having been speaking and writing about such matters for many years now, I've probably responded to thousands of questions, so I cannot reinvent
So
the
there
answer
are
from
patterns.
scratch
Yes.
every time. So the answers that there is, of course, some consistency, some common threads, particularly common analogies, metaphors, pathways. But these all, in one way or another, there are two basic pathways. One is the pathway where we relax the focus of our attention from objects, including thoughts, feelings, relationships, activities, and we come back. What is the basic nature of what we call I, myself, the fact of being aware or awareness itself? That is one pathway. But I think it is also important to take the same pathway back in the opposite direction, having recognized the inherently peaceful, unconditionally fulfilled nature of our essential being, then to go back into life, to go back towards experience, and to realign the way we think and feel and act and perceive and relate with this new understanding of ourself.
Mm-hmm.
So
do you
there
find
are these
that,
two... Sorry.
Do you find that people struggle sometimes more with that part than with getting a sense that they are the awareness? For some people, that's easy at first, but it's the integration between the remaining thoughts and feelings and beliefs and ideas, the maze we created for ourselves without realizing there wasn't a place to go or anyone to go there, the mazes of the mind, going back and re-examining those and not getting caught up in them. Isn't that more of a challenge for many people?
Let's take an example.
Sure.
Let's say a feeling of jealousy,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, just a common, ordinary, familiar feeling of jealousy. That the feeling of jealousy rises on behalf of ourself. It's not just anybody that's jealous, it's me that's jealous. That rises, the feeling of jealousy rises on behalf of myself.
Yeah.
So instead of exploring the feeling of jealousy, we explore this would be a way of integrating this understanding. Yes. Instead of exploring the feeling of jealousy, explore the self on whose behalf it arises. So we this is the first part of the journey. We trace our way back. Who is this I? Who is myself? As we do this, we don't find a temporary, finite, limited self. If we go in search of ourself, we trace our way all the way back. We find this perfectly peaceful,
yes,
inherently fulfilled presence of awareness. Now, if we then go back out into life with the intention of only entertaining thoughts and feelings and only engaging in activities and relationships that express and communicate this new understanding of ourself, then how does the feeling of jealousy stand? The feeling of jealousy doesn't rise on behalf of the open, empty presence of awareness. It arises on behalf of a belief. I am a temporary, finite, separate self. But if that belief has been undone, been dissolved in understanding, then it is only a matter of time before our thoughts and feelings and our subsequent activities and relationships follow suit.
Yes.
So it just requires this deep intention, not only to recognize the nature of our being, but to lead a life that is consistent to the best of our ability with that recognition.
Yeah. That having that intent is very important.
Yes, but it's natural to have that intent. Well, one does not need to discipline oneself to have that intent. I mean, after all, who wants to live with jealousy? I mean, or to be upset, to be easily hurt when somebody says something to us. So nobody wants that. So it is in everybody's best interests to explore the root cause of this tendency to be hurt or to be upset or jealous, because everybody wants to lead a life that's free of suffering.
It's true.
That's what everybody wants above all else, not just moments of happiness that punctuate a life of suffering. We all want lasting peace and happiness above all else.
We do indeed. Let's switch to, it's I sense that it's kind of hard to talk about pathways when there's not someone presenting you with a path. Do you know what I mean? If there's no problem, there's no pathway. The pathway presents itself based on the problem, or imaginary problem. But one of the things that I love that you express is the exploration of what calls itself I. I love how you describe that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. I is the common name, the universal name for that anything that knows itself gives to itself. Mm-hmm. And that is true whatever language you speak. So I is simply the name that whatever knows itself gives to itself. So all human beings refer to themselves as I because we all know ourselves. Dogs and cats don't speak, at least they don't speak our language. But if they did speak our language and they were to refer to themselves, they would call themselves I. Tables and chairs obviously don't speak, but if tables and chairs were conscious and were able to speak and they were to refer to themselves, they would refer to themselves as I.
Yes.
So I is the universal name for that whatever it knows itself gives to itself. So the next question is obviously, well, what is it that knows itself?
Right.
What is the one quality? In fact, we could say it's two qualities. It's really one quality, but let's divide it into two. What are the two prerequisites for that which knows itself? Well, one, it must be present, because if it were not present, it couldn't know anything. And two, it must be knowing or aware.
Yes.
So anything that can know itself, or indeed anything else, must be present and must be aware.
Yes.
Those are the only two qualities if we can separate them. So this combination of presence or being and awareness or knowing is what we refer to as being aware, or awareness, which means the presence of that which is aware. So, strictly speaking, I is the name of awareness. It is the name of that which is aware.
Yes.
So, however, the experience of being aware in us, although we all have the experience of being aware, it's not really an experience we have. Awareness is what we essentially are. And awareness, by definition, is self-knowing or aware of itself in the same way that the sun is self-luminous. It illuminates itself just by being itself. Likewise, awareness knows itself just by being itself. But its knowledge of itself, its self-awareness, or its awareness of its own being, is mixed up with its awareness of other things, thoughts, feelings, etc.
Yes.
So whilst everybody knows their self, not everybody knows their self clearly. Everybody has the sense of being myself, but most people's sense of being their self is mixed up with their activities, their relationships, their feelings, particularly the feeling of the body. So this knowing of our own being is present in everybody's experience. But in most cases, the knowing of our own being, the awareness of being, is colored or qualified by experience. It is mixed with experience.
Yes,
and
totally.
therefore we do not know ourselves clearly. And it is this lack of clear self-knowledge that is responsible for the veiling of our innate happiness. And therefore the pathway to happiness, the unveiling of our innate happiness, is the removal of this lack of clarity, the removal of ignorance of our true nature. It is not something we need to develop. It is simply the removal. It's like imagine that someone has symptoms of COVID.
Yes.
And they feel a bit, they've got a cold, or they feel a bit under the weather, and they think, oh, I'm sick. So they go to the surgery and they get a test, and the test comes back negative. Immediately they feel, I am healthy. Well, have they become healthy as a result of receiving their test? No, they were always healthy.
Right.
What has happened? Ignorance, in this case, the belief I am sick, has simply been removed from them,
Right.
revealing what was always present, their health. So this ignorance of our true nature, or by ignorance I don't mean stupidity, I mean this overlooking or forgetting of our true nature, is the cause of all psychological suffering, and therefore the removal of this ignorance, which means the clear seeing of ourself as we essentially are, is the remedy. It doesn't cause happiness, it simply reveals the ever-present happiness that was there all along underneath the feeling I am miserable.
Yes. That's great. So what's another way to just simply explore this exquisite awareness that we are? I've heard you talk, and it's been my experience too. The most fun thing I do is just simply explore that awareness. It's kind of, a lot of people have, that's my hobby. It has been for decades.
That's a great hobby.
I know.
I mean, what does one want from a hobby? One wants happiness from one's hobby.
That's true.
No one would engage in their hobby if it made them miserable. So
No.
what does one want from one's hobby? Well, this hobby that you have of exploring the nature of happiness, of awareness, it's the direct path to happiness. It's the
That's
best.
been my experience.
It's the best of all hobbies. So what can one do to facilitate this? It for some people. When you first asked me this question 10 or 15 minutes ago, I said you suggested something like you explore the nature of that which is aware.
Yes.
Well, that may be a little, may seem a bit abstract to some people, or too much of a leap. So we can break this exploration down. We can put it under the microscope.
Yes, let's do that.
For instance, we can ask a question like, is the presence of awareness, does it have a size? Well, everything that we are aware of has it has a dimension, either in space or in time. A thought lasts for a certain length of time. A chair has a certain form. It has a dimension. It has a size. It has a shape. What about that which is aware of the thought or the chair, does that have a size? Does it have a shape? And in order to answer that question, we have to pause, and we have to actually go to the experience of being aware. We have to taste the experience of being aware. Now, when I say we have to taste or know the experience of being aware, what is it in us that knows the experience of being aware? It is obviously awareness. Awareness is the only one that knows. So when I say we have to taste the experience of being aware, what I really mean is awareness, when awareness hears the question, do you have a size or a shape? Awareness has to cease shining the light of its knowing on the object, cease giving its attention to the object, and it has to come back to itself, recognize itself, taste itself. And in that moment between the question and the answer, does awareness have a size or a shape? Pause. No.
Right.
I just find this openness, this emptiness, this spaciousness. And then we ask another question. Does awareness have an age? Well, my body may seem to have an age. My thoughts tell me that I have an age, but we're not referring to the body or our thought. We want to know about awareness's experience of itself. We're not interested in how old thoughts and bodies are. We're interested in, does awareness, does that, the fact of being aware, does that have an age? We hear the question, pause. We, awareness, soften the focus of our attention from its content. We come back to ourself. No. I, awareness, am just ever present. I know without reference to thought, I know nothing of a past or a future.
Right.
We ask a question, do you, awareness, have a gender? Pause. Go back to the fact of being aware. No, there are no objective features there. It's neither masculine nor feminine. It's neither. Does awareness have a nationality? Does it have a density? Does it have a weight? All these questions, the point of asking them is not to get the answer yes or no. It is to each one is like a sacred invitation that takes us deeper and deeper. It takes awareness deeper and deeper into itself. And each question gives us a greater and greater first-hand experiential knowledge that our own being, the fact of being aware, has no shape, no form, no size, yes, no agitation, no sense of lack, no gender, no age, no weight, no density. This is liberation.
Yes.
From the belief and the feeling that I am temporary, I am confined, I am agitated, I lack something, I need something. It is this recognition is a liberation from. It's not from the confines within which we live. It is from the belief that we are confined. Awareness itself is like physical space is never really confined within the lit four walls of a room. The space in a room is the infinite space of the universe. Well, the self in ourself is never really confined within or limited to the four walls of the body. So we make this discovery, and this discovery it doesn't liberate us from our limitations. There were never any limitations there to begin with. It liberates us from the belief. It's like the person who went to the doctor. They are not liberated from sickness. They are liberated from their belief that they were sick.
Right.
And that liberation reveals the health that was always there. Health, of course, means wholeness, happiness. So this exploration of our true nature reveals our innate wholeness, our innate happiness. It is the end of suffering.
Yes.
It restores in us our innate happiness. What more could one want?
I don't know.
and it's not complicated. It's not something one has to work hard for. Happiness is our birthright. It is our nature. It is given freely. It is given freely to us. We only have to strive and work for something that we don't have and that we think we need. So,
Right.
but we don't have to work hard to what is our nature. It is just a matter of recognizing what is always and already the case. And in order to recognize this, it is helpful sometimes to have a friend. Most of us need a friend who is able to skillfully guide us through the maze of experience, so that we don't take 30 years to recognize just the simple nature of our own being. There's a very particular quality of friendship that is whose origin is our shared love of truth, because it relieves our expectation or our demand on our friend to be in a particular way. They don't have to like the same music that we like, or the same the same food that we like, or it's nothing to do with the sharing of our external qualities or characteristics. It is to do with the sharing of our being. Now, of course, to express that shared being, it helps if there needs to be some similarity in our interests, but to actually experience that quality of friendship, it has nothing to do with our characters, and that's something just as you say, that I've been very touched by over the years, both when the many years I spent with Francis and Laura, and the gathering of friends that the community of friends that gathered around them, the quality of friendships there, and now over these last 10 or so years, the community of friends that have gathered around this teaching. It's full of such an eclectic, eccentric mix of people, many of whom don't share that much with each other externally. They come from hugely divergent corners of experience, but we all share this love of truth.
Yes.
And that's it's beautiful when a friendship is sourced in that.
Yeah, it's an easier thing to share, actually, on some level.
It's actually the only thing that can be completely shared.
Yes.
Nothing else can be completely shared. And this is why any relationship that is not sourced in this understanding is ultimately unsatisfactory. If we were to take the last 2,500 years of spiritual practice, investigation, insight, formulation, from all the different religious and spiritual traditions, and we were to distill them into a single phrase, it would sound something like this: being is happiness, and being is shared. That is, the nature of our being is happiness itself, and we share our being with everyone and everything. The first statement, the nature of our being is happiness, takes care of our internal life, our thoughts and our feelings. And the second statement takes care of our external life, that is, our activities and relationships with all objects and others. So it covers these two aspects of our experience. If one understood this, that the nature of one's own being is happiness itself, and that we share our being with everyone and everything, every person, every animal, and every object. And we led a life to the best of our ability that was consistent with this understanding. No further spiritual instruction or practice would be necessary.
I hope you enjoyed our time and reflections with Rupert Spira. I'm grateful he shared his time with us. You can learn more about Rupert Spira and his books, Being Aware of Being Aware and the Nature of Consciousness, on his website and in the program notes. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, and share it with the people you care about. These episodes are dedicated to sharing the eternal teachings from the greatest secret. As Rhonda Byrne said, we've missed the truth for thousands of years because we've not looked at what's right in front of us. We've become easily distracted by our problems, the drama in our lives, the comings and goings of the events in the world, and we've missed the greatest discovery we can make, a discovery that can take us out of suffering and into lasting bliss and happiness. If you'd like to learn more about my work, my mentor Lester Levinson's work, and the Sedona Method, please visit sedona.com. As you explore our site, you'll learn the key to lasting happiness, success, peace, and emotional well-being. We have books, courses, events, and plenty of free material to explore. Again, go to sedona.com. That's sedona.com. Thank you for being here, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Letting Go and the Greatest Secret.